Mecha Break, which is developed and published by CSUN Games, has been out in closed beta for a couple days now, and I have to say that I have fallen in love with this game completely. How I'll describe this game is a fast-paced 6v6 mecha arena shooter that allows you to choose from a variety of mechas, which they call strikers, which each play their own role on the battlefield. But if you want to break it down into simpler terms, I'd probably just describe this as though if Overwatch and Armored Core had a baby. But when you first start off the game, you get put in this kind of PvE scenario that introduces you to the overall controls of the game. You fly through a couple rooms, take out some enemies, and end it off with one big boss battle where you are joined by two other friendly strikers to assist you in battle. While this introduction does help you learn a bit of the basic controls, I'm honestly a bit confused as to why they included this into the game in the first place. Perhaps as somebody who's looking for more of a PvE mecha game, they might find this slightly entertaining, but this fight is definitely not representative at all of the meat and potatoes of this game, which is its fast-paced PvP gameplay, and actually gave me a very bad first impression of the game. This wasn't a problem though. This boss fight ended pretty quickly, and immediately after that, I was pretty much dropped directly into my first PvP match without me even knowing it. Mr. Falcon over here. This guy's running. He's running. He's running. He's scared. He's scared. And while the game might want you to believe that the small little 10-minute intro prepared me fully for this fight, it definitely didn't. After fumbling around, running out of booster energy, we're gonna bop some fools. Wait. Did I run out of like boost meter? Is there somewhere where I have boost meter that I can see? Dying a bunch of times. Hold up. Getting no kills and not even knowing how to do something as simple as capturing the capture point. Okay, can I capture this? Can I capture this? Objective gaming. Objective gaming. Objective gaming. That was the end of my first PvP match in Mecha Break. After it booted me back into the main menu, I quickly found out how to switch my striker, and for a game that's still in beta, there are actually quite a few strikers of different shapes and sizes to choose from. From the light and extremely agile attack striker like a Falcon to the extremely heavy and slow-moving powerhouse like Stego, there were a ton of different strikers for me to choose from. The game starts you off with a couple of basic strikers, but if you want to unlock more, you have to pay the in-game currency to research them. Since this is beta though, they gave us a ton of currency to basically unlock every striker in the game, and I ended up choosing Falcon as the first striker, which was the fastest and squishiest striker in the entire cast. And just as you expected it, I went in and dominated the second match. Just kidding. Picking this as my second striker was absolutely a huge mistake. I quickly realized that when they categorized Falcon as a light attacker, they meant light attacker in both frame and damage. Okay. Oh my god, I'm zooming! I'm zooming! Oh! Oh my god, wait, my team! I'm zooming past my team! Hold up. That was a little dangerous. That was dangerous. Get the fuck out of here. Yo, why am I doing like ZDPS to this guy? Why am I doing ZDPS to this guy? He's not even looking at me. Wait a second. He's not even looking at me. Not knowing anything about how to play this striker, I was doing absolutely ZDPS and was barely tickling all of my enemies, and being one of the squishiest strikers in the game, I was also dying extremely quickly as well. But surprisingly, even though I was dying extremely quickly, nobody could actually get the final hit on me, and my team ended up winning the first match, and I ended with a clean 2-0-7. Yo, 2-7-0. I'm kind of popping off. I didn't die a single time, guys. I didn't die a single time. I'm kind of nuts. I'm kind of nutty. Wait, how am I not MVP, bro? How am I not MVP? How'd this dude get MVP? MVP. Yo, that's cringe. I didn't check how much damage I actually did, but if I were to guess, I probably did the lowest DPS in my entire team. But that's okay. I got the win. While I didn't do the greatest in the second match, I actually ended up falling in love with Falcon because it specifically reminded me of how much I loved an old game that I used to play called Ace Online. Never heard of it? Well, how about Air Rivals? Doesn't ring a bell? How about Space Cowboy? Well, I'm not actually surprised that you haven't heard of it. Not because it kept getting dropped by its publishers and had to get renamed every single time it got picked up by a new one, but because it definitely was a niche Korean MMO that was extremely pay to win. But despite the fact that it was designed to continuously drain your wallet, to this day, this game had some of the best combat I've ever played in an MMO. And after a decade of searching for another game that scratched that same itch, I think I found it with Falcon in Mecha Break. Okay, enough of me being a boomer and talking about the past. Hoping to fix my ZDPS problem, I went and tried to explore the equipment system in the game, which allows you to modify your strikers with, well, mods to change things like energy recovery, lock on distance, boost speeds, and so much more. But since you don't start with any mods, I didn't get to change anything, and I quickly moved over to the weapons, which at the moment, it doesn't seem like the game gives you any weapons outside of the base ones, but given that they have a whole UI for it, I assume that down the line you'll be able to unlock more and change the weapons that you feel fit your playstyle the most. From here, you can also change the paint job on your striker and your pilot's outfit. And in addition to changing the color of your outfit, you can actually change the outfit completely. And while I enjoyed this extremely form-fitting jumpsuit that they start you off with, I quickly decided that I would switch to a more, let's call it, modern look. Wait a second. Wow. No, this one's lame. Wow. 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 I mean, look. You might say this might be a bad decision, but let me tell you, I don't think there's anything else I'd rather use my money on. What the heck is going on there? To look more realistic and match the styles of a normal human being, of course, and no other reason than that, of course. But back on topic. While you can change the paint job on your striker and the colors of your pilot's outfit, you actually don't have all of the colors unlocked at the beginning of the game. So the question is, how do you unlock these colors? Well, at the moment, there are two ways for you to get these colors. The first way is through buying the paints. And all you need to do is go into the paint store and spend 600 of the in-game credits to buy a paint, and you'll be able to use that paint forever. And the other way to get the paints is through a loot box system. And these loot boxes are given one when you go purchase it with 30 of the paid currency, at least from what I could tell is the paid currency, or they also drop from the battle pass. Now, I'm not entirely sure why they have both a loot box system and also a system where you just buy the paints directly with in-game currency. My assumption is that maybe during the beta, they are allowing people to buy the paint at free will with the in-game currency, but when the game actually ends up releasing, you may only be able to get these paints through the loot box system. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to see when the time comes. But in terms of the cost for the paid currency, I wish I could tell you how much it costs in terms of dollar value, but unfortunately the beta doesn't actually let you purchase the currency. It simply just gives you 1,000 of it for free and you can do whatever you want with it. But speaking of loot boxes, remember when I was talking about how you don't start off with any mods for your strikers? Well, one of the main ways to obtain mods is also through a loot box system. At the moment, it looks like there isn't any way to purchase these loot boxes, and the only way you can get them is from leveling and, from what I assume, the free part of the battle pass, because both sides of the battle pass are actually unlocked during the beta. I couldn't actually tell. The other way to obtain them is by fusing them. So as you obtain mods, you can take your useless lower tier mods and fuse them together to make them into higher rarity mods. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I'm thinking this too, but this game definitely has the potential to become quite pay to win and have a lot of predatory gacha systems. So hopefully it doesn't go down this path, but all we can do right now is cross our fingers and see what happens in the future. Hopping into a couple of more matches after that, I also learned a few other things about the game. At the moment, there are 5 different game modes, each with their own map. There's a payload type of game mode where both teams have to push their cars from one end to the other by standing on it and making it move. The capture type format where there are 3 points that you need to capture and hold. A mode where you have to dismantle these structures that spawn constantly around the map called Stratum Shatterers, which the game really constantly reminds you the name of.
Stratum Shatterer deployed. Stratum Shatterer. Stratum Shatterer dismantled. Stratum Shatterer dismantled.
Stratum Shatterer. Stratum Shatterer. A capture the flag type of game mode, and also a more traditional permadeath mode like Counter-Strike or Valorant, where if you die, you're dead either until the round ends, or if you're lucky enough, a teammate will go and revive you at one of these access points, which I really wasn't able to figure out how to use exactly, but presumably you're able to use these points to revive your fallen allies. Overall, every game mode is quite fun, but personally I like the permadeath one the least, but that might just be my preference. Additionally, you can also have custom lobbies if you don't want to matchmake, but there were pretty much less than a handful of lobbies when I checked, so it doesn't seem like it's very popular to play the game this way at the moment. After playing Falcon for a couple more games, I decided to give Narukami the Sniper a try, and boy, my MMO aim definitely shows when playing this character. So I quickly swapped over to Lumine, one of the support strikers, and while I did better with Lumine, this striker definitely didn't feel very satisfying to play. It was quite difficult to see my impact on the field, at least from my time playing it, and it didn't really feel like I was contributing too much. Whenever I sent out my heal bots, it was really hard to tell when they were on my allies, or, it just definitely didn't feel right. But hey, maybe I just suck at it, and that's why. But either way, I decided to go back to Falcon, and I definitely have still not found another striker I like quite as much as Falcon. So, what exactly did I like about Mecha Break? Well, in terms of its pros, I think that the combat is extremely fun. All of the strikers play very differently from each other and have their own strengths and weaknesses, and the combat for the most part feels very satisfying. I would say that sometimes the game does have an issue with not having enough feedback when you hit the enemies with your attacks, but overall, I don't have a big problem with it. And going off of that point, I think that this game has a good variety of strikers. For a game that's still in beta, having 13 strikers is quite impressive, and you can tell that they likely focus more on providing more strikers versus having more maps and game modes, which is totally fine to me. It also seems like there's quite a bit of customization. The mod system seems really in-depth, and it really allows you to really customize your strikers to play the way that you want. And I also hope that when they add the ability to change your weapons, they'll also be quite in-depth as well. Additionally, the color customization is also quite detailed, allowing you to customize and change the color of each individual part of your striker. And while this isn't quite related to the game itself, it also seems like the devs are very active and responsive. The game hasn't even gone into open beta yet, and there's actually already been a balance patch to the strikers, so I thought that was pretty cool. But that's the good. Now, here comes the cons. And there are actually a few things that I really hope that they change when pushing this game out for full release. First off, I think that one of the biggest cons for me is the loot box system. I don't mind things like paints being in the loot boxes, but when you put power behind the loot boxes with things like mods, that's when things can start getting hairy. While the game has not shown any signs of being able to purchase these loot boxes with real money, I wish you were able to just outright buy the mods with the in-game currency. And speaking of mods, I also thought that the mod system was a little bit convoluted and confusing. There are a ton of affixes in the game, from energy recovery speed to lock-on speed to ballistic armor increases, but what these increases and decreases actually do are never really explained. Like, I understand what energy regen means, right? But what does energy regen with overload in parentheses mean? Or like, I understand what lock-on range means, but what does lock-on range evasion delay mean? It would really be nice if you could hover over these key terms and see what they did to your striker overall, so I can actually understand what I'm increasing and decreasing when it comes to my mech. And while I'm sure there are probably quite a few other things I can nitpick at and say are issues that I hope for them to fix, I think that overall the game is in a pretty good place. I think that there's definitely room for improvement. I think there's a lot to flesh out, but I'd say what they have right now is definitely a very good start and a very good foundation for a great game. So, who would I recommend this game to? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think that this game is a good crossover between a game like Overwatch and Armored Core. So I think that if you're into either of those games or just mecha games in general, I think that this is definitely a game you should check out. Or if you want to talk about direct comparisons, I actually think that a game like Tribes Ascend, which many of you guys might not know either, is actually a really good comparison to this game. So if you enjoyed a game like Tribes where there's a lot of fast-paced action and shooting, I think that that is also the type of person that I would recommend this game to as well. And of course, if you played Space Cowboy Air Rivals Ace Online, that game, I'd recommend it to you too. I'm really, really enjoying it so much right now. And even while making this video, I just don't want to do anything but play that game. And I'll definitely be covering this game a ton going forward. So please, if you want to know more about this game and keep up to date with it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And actually, there was one more pro that I didn't really talk about, and I'll let you guys take a look at this. See here. Okay. Oh, wow. Wow. Look at that strength. She's squeezing them logs.